Bruchim habaim ledikduk dakot. This grammar video is over irregular imperfects. So you can see there's three paradigms written up here with color differentiation between the roots, which are in blue, the prefixes, which are in pink, and the vocal patterns, which are in orange. As you recall, prefixes are created by making a contraction of the independent personal pronoun and then attaching it to the beginning of the root. And so when you attach the pronoun, the contracted pronoun, to the beginning of the root, you're suggesting that action is beginning or about to begin, which is the imperfect form. As opposed to the perfect form, where you attach a contracted version of the pronoun to the end of the root, suggesting that action has ended. So here we have prefixes, and this is just the first five, so this is just the singular versions of each paradigm. You can tell that all of the prefixes are the same all the way down, right? So we have third masculine singular all the way across, third feminine singular all the way across, second masculine singular, second feminine singular, and first common singular. All of the prefixes are consistent, and some of them, like the second feminine singular, have a prefix complement on the end that differentiates it for gender and number from its counterpart in the second masculine. So here we have in the middle the strong consonant paradigm. So all three of these letters in the root are strong consonants. They don't disappear, they don't modify the vocal pattern in any particular way. And so the vocal pattern of E, O, Heuric under the prefix, a holum between the second and third root letters, that's the most common prefix vocal pattern. E, O, you can see it going consistently through the paradigm. Here the holum is reduced to a schwa because of the prefix complement, but you still have this Heuric on the beginning, and here it's a segol, but you can still sort of get a sense for how the pattern is consistent throughout the paradigm. In certain situations, with weak or guttural letters, that pattern will be modified in some way because either a guttural refuses to follow certain vowels, or certain weak letters will actually fall off and disappear from the root. So for instance, in this column we have a pe-hey example. Pe-hey meaning that the root letter in the pe position, which is the first root position, is a hey. So this verb begins with hey. The root begins with hey. But you couldn't tell that because there aren't any heys in the paradigm. You can tell that if you know what happens when a verb begins with hey, and it becomes an imperfect. What happens is that this dominant pattern of Heuric, holum, changes because the hey disappears. The hey as a weak letter gets claustrophobic when the prefix gets attached to the beginning. It gets claustrophobic and it sort of disappears, but on the way out, it lengthens the Heuric to a tsere. So here you can see consistently throughout you have a tsere. In fact, I think this is supposed to be a tsere. So you have a tsere throughout. Tsere under the prefix is telling you the first root letter is hey. You can see that you're missing a root letter because there are only two letters in blue. And every verb needs to have how many root letters? Shalosh. So you can see that consistently through the pattern. Tsere under the prefix, missing initial hey. Now, here is a pe-ein example. Pe-ein, again, suggests that the first root letter, the letter in the pe position, is an ein, which you can see the ein all the way down. As a guttural, the ayin is not going to disappear like the hey, it's just going to impact the vocal pattern because ayins refuse to follow the heeric, which is a problem because in the primary vocal pattern, the heeric is the vowel under the prefix, which means the ayin would have to follow it. So the ayin always is going to change the heeric into a patach, which you can see consistently all the way down except for the aleph, because this is a sort of double whammy of two gutturals at the beginning. The prefix is a guttural, and the first root letter is a guttural. So it just sort of says goodbye to every pattern. It just sort of beats to its own drum. So what you can take courage and comfort from knowing is that any root that begins with ayin is going to impact this vocal pattern in the same way. So even though this is identifying an irregular pattern, it's regular in its irregularity. The same is true for this. Any time you have a verb that begins with hey, it's going to impact the prefix vowel the same way. It's always going to change it into a tsere. The same will be true if it's a pay noon verb, where the first root letter is noon. It's going to do the same thing. Or a hollow verb, an ayin yod or ayin vav, it's going to impact it the same way. So hopefully you can take comfort in knowing that once you memorize or learn the pattern, it's going to do it consistently and you can apply it in other areas. So when you have root letters that are missing, pay attention to the vowels. When you have prefix vowels that are different from what you'd expect from the dominant pattern, pay attention to the following vowel to see if it's an ayin, if it will have impacted it in some way. Lech l'shalom.